Hi there, my dear friends. Welcome back to another Stoic meditation. Today we are going to be studying and working on our perception of ourselves and how we go about our lives, specifically focusing on work, what it means to work, why you should work hard, and the Stoic logical perception on working. I hope that this video will both bring you peace, help you relax, and teach you something. After all, that is the point of these videos. Before we begin, I'd like to invite you to assume a comfortable position. Whether you are standing as myself, laying down, flat, or comfortably propped up by pillows, I'd like to invite you to assume a neutral spinal posture, or at least some posture that you can sustain for the length of this video without accruing any uncomfort, any pain. We're going to start by assuring that you are in this position. Starting with the head, we're doing something called progressive muscular relaxation mixed with progressive muscular mindfulness, or as some call it, a body scan meditation, where you isolate your awareness to different parts of your body at a time to ground yourself in the present moment by observing your unique sensory perceptions in each part of your body. Starting with the head, with the scalp, and with the temple. Are you flexing or holding any tension in these areas? I am currently not. I don't usually hold much tension here, but I know some people do. An area where I definitely hold tension, however, is the eyebrows, forehead, and upper areas of the face. It's probably one of the most common areas to hold tension is in your eyebrows. Your eyebrows are, of course, core to a lot of your expressions and your emotionality, and they have a certain underlying tone. So, I'd like to invite you to put them in a neutral position. Just let go of any tension. Don't force them down or up. Just let go of any tension you have in these areas. Your cheeks, your lips, and your eyes, your jaw. A very common area again. Unlock or loosen your jaw. Are you clenching? A lot of people clench their jaw. Can you relax your face? And your neck. What about your neck? Are you holding your neck out in a unusual position? A lot of people assume this posture. We spend a lot of time looking down at tablets, at smartphones, laptops, television screens that are too far away. What position is your head in right now? Some people do indeed have the opposite problem, but there are few. So I'd like you to just have a neutral position in your neck, if possible, of course. moving down to your chest and shoulders. What position are your shoulders in? Are you hunched forwards with your shoulders? Have you assumed this posture? Let it go. Let yourself be in a neutral position, but don't lose control of your body and turn into a gelatinous slime. You still have a spine. You still have rigid bones, so sit upright, but don't hold tension in any of your muscles if you don't need to. Continuing downwards to your abdomen, your abdominals, your obliques. Are you holding any tension here? How are you breathing? A lot of people with underlying anxiety breathe quick and shallow breaths. There are some situations where this is useful. For example, if you're doing a compound exercise, this is exactly how you breathe. But in your day-to-day life, you should not be breathing the way in which you would be doing if you were squatting your own body weight on a bar. You should have a relaxed and slower breath cycle. You can put your hands on your stomach and feel as your stomach expands when you breathe, not only in your upper lungs, but filling your diaphragm. Moving down to your legs. Where do you feel the tension here? The lower body is much more complex in terms of tension, at least in my mind, as there are, of course, more muscles in the upper body and face that people hold tension in, but the lower body is quite unique from person to person. There is a large variance in terms of people's lived experience of tension in the lower body. So I'd like to invite you just to quickly scan the muscles. You have your quadricep muscles. It's the name of a group of muscles on the front of your leg that people nickname the quads. The same with the hamstrings down the back. Are you holding tension on one side more than the other? Where is your center point of gravity? I'd like you to finally finish with observing your contact points with the ground. Unless you are in a zero gravity environment, generally most humans, most of the time, have to have something supporting them that is attached to the ground. For me, the soles of my feet are pressed on the ground, and I can feel just the tension of the ground and my weight pressing against each other. This is another sticking point they use in meditation. Your anchorage to the ground is another thing you can think about in a time where you need to distract yourself from the past or future by thinking of the present. I'd like to invite you just to take a few slow breaths, if you please, or at least listen to me. Okay. Now that we are calm, we're focused on the present. you can properly listen to what I'm going to say and really think about it. If a thought about your day arises, if a thought about the past or about the future arises, just notice it and cast it out. There's no need to be angry at yourself. It is normal and healthy for the brain to think, as indeed that is the function of the brain. All you do in meditation is notice these thinking patterns and just go, okay, and move on. That's the point of meditation. Today I'm going to go through the logical perception or logical paradigm that the Stoics had about work. Within Stoicism, one of the core fundamental ideas or values is having the ability of introspection. Not only that, but understanding the nature of things. Not necessarily about the environment and ecology. I mean the nature as in the fundamental principles, ideas, characteristics of something. To understand the nature of a dangerous animal, you understand that it's inherent with the creature's biology and psychology to want to be predatory, to feel hunger. It's within the nature of a being that needs to eat. What are the things that are within our nature? Therefore, along the same line of reasoning, the Stoics believe that humans are just as animals, creatures who are as they are, with certain biological, psychological, societal and environmental pressures that brought them to behave in certain ways. What are these characteristics? Well, you get hungry. It's not something that you can really fight. There's a purpose behind hunger. It reminds you must eat. But what is the nature of human life? Well, if you were to look through an evolutionary perspective, we are a social species, meaning that we have to do all of the things that props evolution along, including mating, breeding, eating, surviving. But our social element is one of the main factors which makes us succeed as a species. Involvement in some group cohesion, being part of a social species, means that an innate part of our being is wanting to help others in some way, to be of service socially. Biologically, psychologically, we assume different roles in our society. In the way that it's manifested now, you have a job where you go and you are of service to the place you live or the people that you serve, goods and services. You provide something to give back for the rest of your species, and thus your species does the same for you. That's the nature of being a group. That's the nature of being a social animal, a social organism. That's what the Stoics believed we are. And so, Marcus Aurelius, in his personal journal, a Roman emperor, was giving himself a pep talk. He was having a moment, a day, a morning where he was having trouble getting out of bed. It's interesting to imagine a Roman emperor struggling the same way that most people struggle. It's warm and cozy in your bed. But he told himself, well, do the bees have work to do, who go out and get honey, who work together, come back and service the queen? Do they complain? Do they lie in bed and say, "Oh, I don't want to do work today"? No, it's not within their nature to do such a thing, because one of their purposes is to be a bee. So therefore, seeing that we are social humans, is our purpose to be a human? Well, a good human, therefore logically, by its own parameters, should be someone who gives back. So, I would like to invite you to remember the bees, remember the ants, remember group organisms, and remember that you are one yourself, and that you have a job to do, and that the world needs you, and so does your work. So, with that, I believe that you can do what you need to do, and you believe it as well, because it's the truth. Of course, life is complicated. The human psyche is quite complex. Sometimes it can be difficult to even know what's going on inside one's own mind. I understand this. And sometimes a simple pep talk like this doesn't suffice for real psychological help. If you are experiencing severe amotivation, I would like to invite you to go and seek professional help, if you can. If you're not comfortable or there are no resources in real life for you, I'd like to invite you to search online. There are many programs for seeking mental health, or even reach out to a friend that you trust. But if you want more, a philosophical reason to spur you on, a logical reason to go about your day and keep existing, remember that you are part of a group. It's inherent in your biology and your evolution and your psychology and your society to get up and do what you need to do. It's one of the parts of being a human. Now, what you can do is really dictated by a few things. Some of them are out of your control, but fundamentally down to the core, what you can really do, no one can stop you, because the thing that's ultimately always under your control is if you do the right thing or the wrong thing. No matter how much ability you have financially, physically, with time limitations, with psychological or cognitive limitations, you still have the ability to assess right from wrong, or at least try to, and then choose the one that you think at that moment is the most correct. That's what's under your control, and that's what you have the power to do. So, remember that you have a job to do, and it may not be the job of your dreams. It might. It may not be a high-paying career job, or it may. But your job is to do the one thing that you can always do, and it's do the correct thing. And that's a job that's both morally and ethically also is protected by the fact that no one can stop you trying to do the right thing. Someone can stop you trying to do something practically, but they can't stop you reacting in the best way that you can. You might want to do something as a gesture to a person, but someone might physically stop you. But your intention was to do the correct thing, and your reaction to that person stopping you, you have the ability to counterweigh the situation again. What should I do now? And then you can choose to try and do what you think is right, given that current circumstance. And that entire chain of circumstance, even though things didn't go as you predicted, you still chose to do the right thing. That's all that's under your control. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So, I'd like to hammer home the main points of today. That one, you are a human with certain psychological, biological drives, roles and responsibilities. One of them included is work, and two, that your work, your real job, is to try and make the best with what situation you're in currently and do the moral thing. And that's essentially what Stoicism is. That's the fundamental idea, is try to do the right thing all the time, as much as you can. And Stoicism is that. And Stoicism is also a tool to find out what is the right thing to do. One of the right things to do is to do your work. It's to do what you need to do. Okay. I hope this has been very helpful for you. To take us out of this meditation, I'm just going to give you a few deep breaths. And you can do as you please and start maybe moving about and adjusting to the world of movement. You've been still for a while, so let's get you moving again. Feel free to look around. Maybe move your wrists and fingers. Gently swivel your neck if need be. Rotate your shoulders if that's something that you think would warm your body. Back up. And I'd like to thank you for joining me. I enjoy making these meditations as they remind me of the topics that I am lecturing about. And I always love spreading Stoic logic, as personally I think that it will help make the world a better place. Perhaps if you've learned something in this video, you might go and share it with another. So go share what you've learned and go try to do the right thing. Goodbye, my dear friends. Goodbye.